Welcome back. Now we're on Ballincraig, which is, surprise for me, is an Irish map. No surprise at all there, of course. And I was slightly confused when I loaded this game because it starts at 10:48 a.m. Now normally, whenever I save one of my games, unless I'm coming back to that game the next time I play, I know I am, so I leave the mods for that version in the game folder sort of thing. I always save them at first thing in the morning, so I know that the first thing I always have to do is feed the animals. But this one, it's saved at 10:48 in the morning, and when I go into into this menu here, I note that all the animals have been fed. So they've eaten some already, which I'd expect by 10:48 in the morning. And then I went up to here and I checked, and none of my crops are ready to harvest yet. So I don't know why I saved this one here, because it looks like all I need to do for this one really is skip through to the next day and then save, and then start the animals. But I must admit, there used to be a mod on one of the earlier versions of Farming Simulator. It was a notepad mod, and basically when you pressed whatever button you chose on the keyboard, it brought up a big big white page that covered about half the screen. You could write notes on, and it was saved in the actual game file, so you could have a different note saved for each game kind of thing, and anyone that had access to that game had access to that note as well. Now, for someone who, for the first time in their whole life sort of thing, is playing multiple games at once, it would be really handy to have that mod. I could write down what the next job to do on that farm is. I think it was actually designed with multiplayer server games in mind, so you could write a note. So if you're playing on the server and then you go to quit, and you know someone else will be coming onto the server at some time when you're not there, you could write, paddock 25 need to finish harvesting paddock 25, animals all fed. You could write what needs to be done next. But where you've got multi games on the go, it would also be quite handy there to be able to write a note of what needs to be done next on the farm, so you don't forget. Because I know I'm in July, which is the middle of summer, so I don't think there's really. I think with this one at the moment, all I'm really doing is waiting for paddocks 241 and 242 to finish growing. What is actually in them? I don't even remember what's in them. Light green, is that canola? Having a look here. Won't be sugar cane. Radish. Peas, that's what it is. That's right, yes. We've got peas growing in those paddocks. And if we go here, we can see how long until the peas are ready to harvest. We can have peas. Well, they're in the harvest season now. I must have planted them in the second half of the planting season, so they should be ready to harvest next month. Anyway, the reason I loaded this game today is to talk to you about the coloured bales, because I did have a bit of a talk to AK on one of my videos, but other people might have missed what I was saying in there. So I thought I'd load this game so I could tell you about it in a bit more detail. It's something I discovered about this game that I wasn't aware of before. Now, as you all know, you can get different coloured wrap for the silage bales, and I think from memory, if memory serves me right, well, I'll go and check, I won't just guess here. So if I go to, is it that one that has a wrap in it? I think it is. Somewhere along here. Yes, there we go, foil wrap. So there's white, black, pink, green, blue. Oh no, I must have some extra ones loaded there. Yeah, in the standard game, I think from memory there's 5 wraps. There's blue, green, pink, black and white. I'm pretty sure that's all the ones in the standard game, but this one's got more loaded for some reason. So that might have been part of the but just for when you have that extra wrap mod loaded. But anyway, in the standard game you have 5 different coloured wraps that you can choose from, and I think what it's meant to be used for, my assumption is that, like, for example, this summer all the bales I wrap are doing green. Then next summer I might do them all in blue, and the following summer I do them all in pink. And that way, when you've got some silage bales left over from the previous season or something, and some that are newer this season, you can tell from the colour wrapped in how old the bale is, so you can always use your old ones first. And that seems to work reasonably well, except for one little problem. And the problem I've discovered with that, which wouldn't be too hard to fix, I could possibly fix it myself, is with the, so you've got the rolls of wrap there, and as you can see I've got green ones. I think I've got pink ones through here as well. No, I did have some pink ones through in the corner here. But anyway, the one problem is that the wrap mod that allows you to load the wrap into the bales, because in the standard vanilla game you just choose what colour wrap you have on the bales and it never ever runs out. But I wanted to spend money on actually buying new wrap and having to refill the rollers of my wrapper from time to time. So I've got that mod then loaded, and I think that's why I've got the extra colours there beyond the standard 5. Anyway, it won't allow you to unload the wrap from a bale wrapper. You just got to run it out of that colour first. So I always use the shortest rolls that you can get, and you can choose different lengths of rolls, but I always choose the shortest ones. Now, I know that with things like sprayers and things, it will let you unload the unused spray back into a container and out of the sprayer, which could be especially handy, I suppose, if you were using the same sprayer for doing weed kill and fertilizer or something. But yeah, I figure that since the fertilizer spreaders and the sprayers allow you to empty the machine of the product back into another container again, it shouldn't be very difficult to take that bit of coding and add it to the bale wrappers to allow you to unload the unused wrap instead of having to finish off the roll that you're on. But at the moment you can't. At the moment you have to finish off the roll you're on before you could change the colour, and that's not a real biggie. It's, as I said, it'd be easy enough to fix, and also easy enough to live with. But the other thing I discovered is, like, what I had here in this barn is I had some green bales that were silage, and I had some pink ones that were still grass, because as all of you know, the bales, or when you're using seasons anyway, without seasons, or when you're doing a mission, the bales automatically turn to silage the second they're wrapped. But when you're not doing a mission and you are using seasons, they take a few months to turn into silage, and until they've finished that turning into silage, they remain as grass. Now you see here, I have a look here, yeah, so here I've got 52 of those bales there are grass and 26 of them are silage. So although I've got 78 bales there altogether, I've actually only got 26 silage bales at the moment, and that'll explain why I haven't got the pink wrap in there. I must have done all that again. But how I did it is, I had it so my silage bales were green, and then I'd done the next seasons of bales and they were pink. I wrapped them in pink. And then what I discovered happened is that once they had finished fermenting and turned into silage bales, I don't think they just instantly changed from pink to green, but I think what happened is when I next quit the game and then reloaded it, because the game recognised it was all one product now, it was all silage, it changed all the pink ones to green. So even though I'd wrapped them in 2 different colours, I ended up with all of them in the same colour. So it seems to me that the game will allow you to have different coloured wrap if you've got different types of product wrapped. So you can have grass bales wrapped in one colour and silage bales wrapped in another. But as soon as those grass bales finish fermenting into silage, the next time you quit the game and reload, it just changes it to the colour wraps that all the silage bales are in. So it would be good if it didn't do that, because I would like to have the different coloured wraps for the different seasons of bales, but hey, it's not a biggie. Certainly to change all that would be well beyond my skill level to get it to remain like that. That would probably be something you'd have to break into the base game bit of the programming to do, in fact. So I'm not really quite sure. Oh, I have got animal calves, which are yeah, they all seem to be doing well. So I often don't have calves in here because just timing wise, once they get too big I sell them, and then so it actually ends up I have no calves more often than I have calves, just because of the timing, because I don't generally buy them in, I just wait for them to be born, and then I keep them until I think it's about 6 months old when they change from being calves into whatever the next level was. I don't recall now. If I go in here and they'll tell me. Yearlings. Yeah, so they go from calf to yearling. They needed to. Oh, it's saying yearling and heifer. What's. Okay, there must be. Oh, the heifer's the fully grown one, is it? No, cow's fully grown. I don't remember them being two different levels in between there. I thought there was only the three. There was calf, yearling, and cow, but this is showing bullock for the male ones, yearling, heifer. Oh, I'm not sure why it's got yearling and heifer there. Really not sure. Anyway, once they get to the yearling stage, I generally sell them then, and I think that's at 6 months. And of course, the cows only calve every 10 months. Oh, so no, that would work out to I have calves slightly more often than not. So I have calves for 6 months out of every 10 or something. So yeah, but there is quite often times when I don't have calves there. I notice I do at the moment. Everything else seems to be in order. Everything's put away where it should be and things. So I think, yeah, the only thing I really needed to do in this game was to skip to the next day, and then the next day I'll be harvesting peas. I don't even know what sort of harvester to use on peas, in fact. Is it just a normal harvester, or is it something special? Let's go and have a look. The headers will tell me. So let's have a look. Go down to here. Does that one there have peas? Is that the pea symbol? No, that's the pea symbol there, I think. So yes, it looks like it is just a normal header for peas. I'm pretty sure that's the pea symbol. We'll go back here and check. PPP. Oh no, it looks like that. Okay, so now let's go back to that header and have a look again. Now we know what symbol we're looking for. See if there's a P symbol. Yep, there it is, that one there. So yes, just a normal harvester with a normal header on it will do peas, and that's good because I don't own a harvester on this farm, but the next door neighbour does. So perhaps that's something we could do. We could jump on one of our motorbikes, I think. From memory, that white one's quite loud, so you don't really necessarily want to use the white one when you're recording like this, because it'll be too loud. And here we go. So let's go and see the neighbour about buying his harvester next month. And you'll recognise who the neighbour is from the number plates. Well, in fact, I've got 3 neighbours in this game. Or 4 if you count the person visiting my store there, my little roadside store. So, oh, that wasn't very well done. So, okay. So the person visiting my roadside stall here, there's a number plate there, you can tell is PA Ploughboy. He's visiting my store. And I've got 2 neighbours down here, but these neighbours don't own any farm equipment. They're just here to help me out and things when I need assistance with things. And we have here, again, you can tell from the number plates, that's AK, lives here. And so all of these neighbours here, there's 3 of them. There's PA Ploughboy. There's okay, and I'll show you this one as well, just so you can say you've seen it. We have Fury Machine Gaming, and the 3 of them I highly recommend you watch their videos if you don't already. All 3 of them make really good farming videos. But the neighbour we're actually going to see right now is the one that owns the harvester, and that we will be arranging to buy said harvester next month to do our peas with, since we don't own a harvester of our own. I also don't own any storage facilities of my own on this farm, so we'll be selling them straight from the field to the market, which means we're not going to get the best price possible. But this is primarily a dairy farm, so I just don't have any silos there. And then up here, here's the neighbour that owns the harvester. So we'll get up here. And being it's now 11 o'clock in the morning, we won't be in the house, we'll probably be up in the yard on one of the paddocks. Here he is. And this is Eustace Farmer. If I find, where's the vehicle I can see the number plate on? Oh, there you go. There you go. Eustace Farmer. So yes, we'll arrange to buy his harvester, head a trailer and harvester next month to harvest our peas. So that's all good with you, thank you very much. So how I've done this is I've deliberately set up Eustace Farmer's house, so it's got, I'll show you this, it's got a bigger tractor, which I need when I'm using a seeder or something like that. None of the tractors I've got will pull a big enough to pull the kind of seeder that I want to use. It's got the plough, which again, see, if we go to the map for a second, I only have 2 fields on my farm that have crops in. That's the 2 there. Okay, all the rest of mine are grass. So it's not worth me owning a harvester, it's not worth me owning a seeder, it's not worth me owning a plough. So all the equipment that I'm going to need to do my 2 paddocks with, but it's not worth me owning, Eustace Farmer owns instead, and I borrow them off him when I need to do that stuff. Now, I know the game has a lease option, and that's what I've always done in the past, is leased equipment. I just thought it would be a bit kind of perhaps more realistic to borrow them off the neighbour, and it actually ends up probably costing me as much, maybe a bit more, borrowing them off the neighbour instead of leasing them, because of course the game doesn't allow the neighbour to own these. So as far as the game's concerned, I own all of these vehicles, even though I treat them not as mine, and therefore I'm paying the daily maintenance on all those vehicles, whether they're being used or not. So I think by the time you pay the daily maintenance on all those vehicles, it actually ends up costing you a wee bit more than if you actually leased the equipment you needed from the dealer when you needed it. So I'm not recommending that as a way to save money by not leasing equipment, but if, like me, you end up making too much money, then it's quite a good way to spend some money, is to have extra equipment on the map that's not yours per se. It's like, for example, this map already has a forklift down at the dealers that allows you to use to load pallets and things, but most maps don't. And that's something else I quite often do. I'll go and buy a forklift, and I'll leave it down at the dealership, and I treat that as belonging to the dealership, even though technically, according to the game programming sort of thing, I own the forklift, not the dealer. I treat it as the dealer owning it, and then I just use pay the daily maintenance costs and everything on it, which is a cost I incur for the chance to be able to buy that equipment when I need it. So it is quite a good way of doing it. I would actually kind of recommend to anyone that finds they save too much money too quickly or anything, start buying some vehicles and park them up, so it adds a bit of life to the game as well, having neighbours with actual vehicles and things. Let's see. So yeah, you end up paying money for the vehicle expenses each day. You'd also have to do your own repairs and things as they need it. But this adds a bit of life to the game, having neighbours like that. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about was the problem I've discovered with more modern games and things. Now, obviously, with older games, you have the whole memory thing of it brings back good memories playing it, which is good. But a lot of modern games, I think Farming Simulator is probably the same, but I play Farming Simulator so often that it hasn't happened to me yet. But I loaded up the other day, because on Steam, if we quit here, can I? Oh, hang on. I'll just go like, this is the way I'll quit. Give me a second. Task Manager. Not quit the Task Manager. So if we... I'll quit, okay. So these are the games I have loaded for my Steam account at the moment. The great thing about having Steam is you can just download games if you feel like playing them and otherwise not. So I always have Farming Simulator 22 and GT Legends are always downloaded, sort of permanence. These other ones, I'm going through a bit of a rally stage at the moment. So I've got Rush Rally Origins, I've got Art of Rally, I've got Rally Arcade Classics downloaded, but these ones aren't permanent, so they might not be here always. But if we go on to my Steam account, which is here, you can see I own heaps and heaps of different games. Now, the reason I own so many is partly because there used to be a thing called Bundle Stars. You could buy a bunch of games for very little, so you get about 5 games for $8, and they were all of the same theme. So if at that price, if there's one of those games you wanted, you'd buy the bundle of 5. It was 5 or 6, to get just the one you wanted. So a lot of these games, I might have never ever played some of them, but those came as a bundle. But I loaded Euro Truck Simulator. I downloaded that a few weeks ago. I also downloaded Train Simulator a few weeks ago. I mean, I've had them for years. Okay, I downloaded them to actually play again, and I discovered that, like with Train Simulator, for example, the controls for steam trains, electric trains, and diesel trains are all different. So you've got to remember all the controls for the 3 different types of trains. And I just couldn't remember what button did what and things, and even how to drive the train. So I had to sort of redo the beginning lesson things. I really was like a beginner again. And with the Euro Truck Simulator, I remembered all the basic controls because I have my steering wheel set up for the same way for every game. So I remembered where my gears were, I remembered where my accelerator, my brake and my steering was, sort of thing. But the smaller controls, things like indicators, headlights and things like that, I couldn't for the life of me remember what buttons I'd programmed all those things to. So I was having to go into the menu all the time. And Farming Simulator, because there's so many different controls for it, if I just go here, I'm not in a vehicle right now, so it's not going to show you many, but if I climb into a vehicle for a second and press that, and depending on what it is, with a harvester or something, you'll have even more controls there. And I suspect that with Farming Simulator, if you went away from it for 6 months and then came back, you'd probably have exactly the same struggle. You'd think, oh, how do I turn on this machine? How do I unfold it? And things like this. And you'd be forever having to bring up that menu there to look and see how to do these things. And Farming Simulator, I suppose, is lucky you do have a menu there. A lot of games you don't, so you have to actually go into the menu down here and go, so what's my, it's this menu, isn't it? See, so you can go through here to find what is it that I'm trying to do, what's the button to do that, and you can see how long those menus are. So it's quite annoying, and that's what I found with the Euro Truck Simulator. I found it annoying because I couldn't remember half of the buttons I wanted to be able to do, and the train one was the same. And as I say, I suspect Farming Simulator to be exactly the same, but I play this one often enough that I don't forget the buttons. I do remember that there was one. Now, was it going from 19 to... Hang on. Sorry. Going from... If we're going to the farming... where am I? Steam... Farming Simulator F... I think it might have been going from 19 to 22, or it could have been going from 17 to 19. But they had a couple of button changes where they changed, and I think, if memory serves me correctly, it was the O button. So something was O and it stopped being O, or something wasn't O and it became O as the button pressed to do it. It might have been something like emptying a trailer or something like that. Although I think it could have also been the I button, which fills things up. So like if you park next to a water cistern, you'd press the I to actually fill it with water. And I know that there were a couple of controls that changed in one of the games, or they changed. So I think it was going from 19 to 22, but it might have been going from 17 to 19. They changed a couple of controls, and it became very, very hard to get used to that. But then once you got used to it, I mean, obviously you could go in and change it if you really wanted to work like the old one, but once you got used to it, it was actually an improvement. I think that's why they did it. So it worked a lot better with the new buttons they put in. But now, I think I'd probably struggle if I went back to one of the really old Farming Simulator games. Also, of course, the other problem of going back to an old Farming Simulator game is you have to go back to the old graphics, and I don't mind that so much. I mean, I watch all of AK's videos, know all the older ones, but a lot of the older games didn't have, bearing in mind I love to do dairy farming, didn't have the same ability to have multiple paddocks of cows as this one does. I remember when I used to play Farming Simulator 13, what I would end up doing is I'd have just one paddock of cows that actually moved and needed things done to them, and then if I run across here, you will see why. So here's all my grass paddocks are slowly growing. Did I end up putting a gate in? I thought I put a gate in there in the end. Or maybe it's this one down. Oh yes, this one I have put a gate in there. I do remember putting that one in. I think that was probably done the last time I played, bringing the extra gate there. Now if we go back here, through my paddock of peas, I can run through it without destroying them, but I couldn't drive through it without doing so. So, come on. So my friend Eustace Farmer, he's also a dairy farmer, but in his farm, because I don't want to have to worry about feeding all of his cows every day, so all of his cows are just static ones there. And so I remember in FS13, when I had a dairy farm, I'd have one paddock of cows I actually had to feed and muck out and things like that, and all my other paddocks of cows were just static ones like this, so it didn't actually take any work whatsoever. So for me personally, and I understand why other people might not feel this way because they're not doing dairy farming, but if you're very, very heavily into your dairy farming, certainly the later versions of Farming Simulator, and I've never really played FS25 enough to know, but I do understand from FS25 it was possible to put in the animal pens and then remove the fences so that you didn't have your little fences. You know, you could just use the actual paddock fences instead, like this. But then I think they didn't update, and you couldn't do that anymore. You couldn't remove the fences of the animal pens. I think that's what I read. But I've never really got stuck into FS25 yet, so that'll be stuff I work out if and when I get there. But certainly FS22 here had the ability to put in cow paddocks. So as many as you wanted, there's a mod you can download to increase the numbers that you could have. And so you could have basically unlimited number of, well, it's not unlimited, I think the limit now is 64. I think I'm going to increase to 64 from memory. So I could have up to 64 paddocks of cows that are all real, genuine, walking about cows that need to be fed and things like that, and that produce milk. I don't have that many, but I could have. And so I think, yeah, FS22 is definitely better for someone that wants to do dairy farming than the earlier versions, because the cow paddocks just got so much better. But and of course the other thing I've done with FS22 is I've managed to dig up copies of a lot of the old farms, the old maps I used to enjoy that have been converted across. So I've got some of those old maps to play on again here on FS22. But yeah, I definitely say that FS22 is the best choice for someone that wants to be a dairy farmer. But having to, sorry, I got a bit off topic there. But yeah, having that button change from the earlier version to Farming Simulator to the later version would definitely be annoying if you try and go backwards and forwards between games. You'd have to decide which one do I like and maybe go into the menus and change it around so that all your ones have the same controls. But yes, I suspect Farming Simulator has enough controls here that you would, in fact, forget what does what if you didn't play it for a while. So I can confirm that definitely the American Truck and Euro Truck simulators and the Train Simulator especially do have that problem. It puts me off going back to things. I'd have to relearn it all again, and it'd be like starting right from the beginning again. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Well, I will say one other quick thing before I go, because I forgot to set my timer, so I've got no idea how long this video's gone for. But there's an MX5 Club run, the one that was postponed last week, so I did a video instead, is running this week regardless of weather. The weather doesn't look so good at the moment. Hopefully it's fine, and if it is, then I'll put the top down and I'll get another car video made this afternoon. So you might, if you're lucky, get another video in 6 or 7 hours, which will be a car one. And I also want to do another Lego video again soon at some point. So I'll catch up with you all later on, possibly later today. We'll just wait and see. Thanks. Bye.